Okay, hello. Wow. Welcome to another Jet Vlog. It's a sunny day here in San Diego. It's Saturday, and I decided to get outside. As many of you know, although this won't be relevant years to come, my computer is not working, so I can't use my iSight camera. Using my regular old Casio, which allows me to actually get out and around, so that's nice. The subject for today is questions to ask your predecessor. So some of you will probably start right off and say, but Jason, I don't have a predecessor, or I haven't heard from my predecessor yet, even though some of you are leaving in like 3 weeks if you're in Group A. Yeah, that happens. I mean, I obviously was Dan's predecessor in the sense that Dan started working at the same school as I did, but he didn't move into the apartment I was in. He didn't move into the exact same situation that I started in because the BOE changed over the course of my time. So yeah, sometimes you'll hear from someone and sometimes you won't. Hopefully most of you have, especially now in the age of email, free communication, especially like via Skype and stuff. You should hopefully hear from someone. So I've got a few questions that I think you should be asking them if you do get a hold of them. Unfortunately, the problem is right now the person that you're taking over from is incredibly busy. They're trying to sort out their life, close out things in Japan, pack up, etc. And they just have lots to do. So don't be frustrated, I guess, or impatient if they don't get back to you right away. They've got a lot on their plate, but hopefully they'll be cool enough to get back to you. Now, when I found out about Dan and stuff, we emailed. He obviously went to my channel, more information than he would ever need. I also went ahead and made him vlogs, and perhaps in Japan Juku, I'll post this video in the My Argonauts section of the forums, and I can show you an example. I showed him around school. I introduced him via camera to some of the teachers, the students, to Taisha Town, where I used to work, and so he got some idea. And of course, I was very open to him asking me questions and stuff. Unfortunately, he didn't inherit my apartment, which was a cool apartment, and I would have left him stocked to the gills with cool stuff. But it just didn't work out that way. The BOE that took over from my BOE doesn't own that apartment, so they moved him into some other housing, and it's fine. The house he has, and he has a house, is really nice. So I think he's fine with that. So on to some questions. What should you ask? Well, you should ask about the schools, what kind of schools you'll be teaching at. It's important to know if you'll be at a high school versus elementary/junior high. Different age of kids, different expectations, different dress code perhaps, and that's something else you should ask. At a high school in particular. Also at a high school you won't get school lunch. So ask them, hey, what did you do for lunch every day? Did you get the bento? Did you bring your own lunch? Did you go to the local 7-Eleven, the Combini? So it's important to know what school's like. Further questions about that. How's their day? What time do they have to be at school? How long do they usually stay? Are they involved in any after-school clubs that A, are fun and you should know about, or B, that they kind of have to go to as the ALT, for instance, an English society club? Again, that's more of a high school thing. So, ask them about that. Dress code, I think, is good to know. If you end up being in a lot of elementary schools, it's probably going to be very casual. I've known high school ALTs that have to wear a tie every day, as far as a man. So know about that and find out about that. Sometimes it helps if your predecessor is the same sex as you. It's a man, a woman, a woman, because you can ask questions, especially if you're a girl, I guess, about personal hygiene and hair care and things that I certainly, if I had had a female successor, wouldn't have been able to advise her on. So those are questions you might want to ask too. Let's see. You might want to ask about the supervisor. Do you like the supervisor? How's their English? You know, were they helpful, etc. Now, of course, this goes to the point where some of you are going to want to know a lot. You're just information junkies. You want to know everything you can. You want to be really prepared when you get on that plane to Tokyo. Others of you want it to be an adventure, and you don't want to know as much, and you'll just take it as it comes. And some combination of those two, I think, is the best. So if you don't, you know, if you just want to meet people, etc., etc., you know, I didn't necessarily tell Dan how I felt about X sensei or Y sensei, because that's my take on that person and how I came to know them. His take and the way he, you know, has a relationship with that person could end up being totally different. So it's not really fair for me to color, you know, my judgment of someone, and generally that means a negative assessment of someone onto another person. So I reserved that. And we had jets. For instance, we had a jet that left, although he recontracted for a second year, and the letter he sent to his successor was so negative. I just hope you don't get a really, you know, screwy predecessor like that. And yeah, he was kind of, you know, for lack of a better term, an asshole. And you know, you're gonna meet a few, and you're like, how did you ever get into jet? But it happens. Another one, obviously, would be living arrangements. How's the apartment? What's the rent? Now these things can change, like I just said. You know, how far is it to school? How do you get to school? Do I need a car? Do you have a car? You know, etc., etc. These are important questions, I think, to know. Will I be getting a bike? Most jets are given a bike for free. Local shopping. You know, where do you go to get your groceries? How far is it? You know, if you have a car, obviously you take that. If you don't have a car, you know, how do you get your groceries back from the store? Things like that are good to know. You know, am I living around other jets? Am I in the same apartment building with jets? You know, how far is it to the nearest other ALT or Westerner? These are good things to know. Somebody mentioned when I brought up this topic, how am I getting from Tokyo orientation to where I'm going to be living? So that's a good question to know. Most of you will be flying, but a few of you will be taking trains or buses if you end up getting placed close to Tokyo. All ALTs, no matter if you're in Okinawa, Hokkaido, or anywhere in between, you start your first 3 days of jet life at Tokyo orientation, unless you're an alternate that gets called up very late. So you all have to get from Tokyo then to wherever you're going to be living. In my case, Shimane, it was a flight. And then for some people, it's, you know, the plane lands in your local airport, but it could still then be a 3 or 4 hour car ride to, you know, your destination. So ask, you know, and again, I'll say this, when you fly to Tokyo, you probably can be business casual, but when you fly from Tokyo and you're going to land and meet your people in your home prefecture for the first time, that's the day you want to dress up, look nice, wear your suit, so make sure you pack that in your bag that you take to Tokyo, and you keep in Tokyo with you, that doesn't get sent ahead. Okay, that's probably 8 minutes or so of questions you can ask your predecessor. You know, hopefully you'll be lucky and you'll get a good one. They'll have some time to email you. They'll answer some questions. If you don't have a predecessor, hopefully your supervisor will step in. Obviously their English might not be as good, etc. Or maybe another local jet can answer some questions. If you have questions, of course, feel free to ask me, but you know, the predecessor is now going to be your link to specifics about where you're going to be living and how your day goes. You know, what time do I have to get up? What kind of shoes do I need at school? All these kind of things that you guys ask me, but you can get very specific answers from your predecessor, hopefully. All right? And if you get hired and you don't have one, you're being either put in a new position or you're being put at 14 elementary schools or, you know, something like that. Do your best, roll with it. That's all part of JET, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Okay? From sunny San Diego, thanks for watching. See ya.